Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something that's a huge deal for all of us: how to actually focus. We're going to unlock the secret to peak performance, that feeling of deep satisfaction, in a world that's just constantly trying to distract us. We're talking about a state called flow.
Okay, so let's just jump right in with this quote, because I think it hits home for, well, pretty much everyone. You've got that massive project staring you in the face, right? The one that could be a real game changer. And what do? You find yourself alphabetizing the cans in your pantry. It looks like procrastination, for sure, but what's really going on in our brains is way more fascinating than just being lazy. You know that feeling, right? It's like you're just spinning your wheels. Your calendar is a nightmare of back-to-back meetings. Your inbox is exploding. You are busy. But when you finally shut your laptop at the end of the day, you realize you didn't actually move the needle on the one thing that really mattered. So what's the deal? Why do our own brains keep tricking us like this? All right, first things first, stop beating yourself up about it. This is not a character flaw. You're not lazy. It all comes down to our brain's ancient operating system. I mean, think about it. For our ancestors, wasting energy on something that wasn't essential could literally be the difference between life and death. That software is still running in our heads today, always looking for the easiest path, the path of least resistance. So this energy-saving mode creates a couple of really sneaky mental traps. First up, you've got what's called the urgency bias. This is why that little ping from a new email feels impossible to ignore, even when you know it's not important. Then there's the completion bias, and this one's a doozy. Your brain gives you a little hit of dopamine, that feel-good chemical, every time you finish a task, any task. It doesn't care if you just launched a rocket or organized your sock drawer. A checkmark is a checkmark, and your brain loves it. And this is where it gets really interesting. Let's think about our tasks in two different zones. Over on the left, you've got Zone 1 tasks. These have what we call capped payoffs. You know, clearing your inbox. Once it's at 0, it can't get any more 0. Tweaking a presentation font for the 10th time. Diminishing returns. But then, you have Zone 2. These are the tasks with uncapped payoffs. This is the deep stuff. Learning a new skill. Solving a really tough problem for a client. A little bit of progress here can have a massive exponential impact. The problem is, our brains, with their little biases, love to just hang out in the safety of Zone 1. So the big question is, how do we break out of that trap and actually spend our time in that high-impact Zone 2? Well, the answer is a concept that psychologists call flow, but you and I, we probably just call it being in the zone. So what exactly is flow? It's that incredible, almost magical state where you are so completely absorbed in what you're doing that everything else just fades away. Your focus is absolute. You look up at the clock and somehow 3 hours have passed in what felt like 20 minutes. It's that feeling of effortless performance where you're at your absolute best. And this whole idea comes from the work of a psychologist named Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. I know, it's a mouthful. He was fascinated by artists he observed. He saw them get so lost in their work, so completely wrapped up in painting or sculpting that they would literally forget to eat or sleep. They weren't doing it for money or fame. The act itself was the reward. He just had to figure out what was going on there. And through his research, he broke down what that experience actually feels like. Yeah, sure, there's intense focus, but it's more than that. It's that nagging voice in your head, that inner critic. It just goes silent. You feel this profound sense of control. And the best part, the work itself is the reward. You're not doing it for the outcome. You're doing it for the feeling of doing it. Okay, so this all sounds amazing, right? But the key question is, how do we make it happen on command? Because it's not just some random lightning strike of inspiration. There's actually a blueprint for it. So let's get practical and look at the 3 conditions you need to create flow intentionally. The research is pretty clear on this. It really boils down to 3 key ingredients. Number 1, you need clear goals. You have to know exactly what the finish line looks like. Number 2, you need immediate feedback. You have to know moment to moment if you're getting warmer or colder. And number 3, and this one is absolutely crucial, you need that perfect balance between how challenging the task is and how skilled you are. And this chart just lays it out perfectly. It shows you exactly what that balance looks like. Look, if the challenge is way too high for your current skills, you're not in flow. You're in the anxiety zone. On the flip side, if you're a total pro at something and the task is super easy, you're in the boredom zone. But that sweet spot, That golden channel up in the top right corner, where a tough challenge meets your highly practiced skills, that's the magic zone. That's where flow happens. All right, so we get what flow is, we know the recipe to create it. Now let's throw a modern twist into the mix. We're going to connect this timeless idea about human psychology to one of the most powerful tools we have today, AI. You hear this all the time, right? This fear that AI is going to become a wheelchair for the mind, that we'll all just get intellectually lazy and stop thinking for ourselves. And you know what? For a lot of people, that's probably true. But it absolutely does not have to be that way. See, the people who are really crushing it are using AI in a completely different way. They are not outsourcing their thinking, they're practicing something we could call intelligent laziness. They're strategically delegating all the boring, mundane stuff to free up their brain power for the kind of deep, focused work that actually gets you into a flow state. And here's the absolute key. You have to know what to delegate. Remember those zones we talked about? The smartest people are basically handing over their entire Zone 1 to-do list to AI. They let the machines handle all the good enough work, which frees up precious time and mental energy to obsess over the Zone 2 stuff, the work that can actually change the game. So how do you do it? Here's a super simple, actionable framework you can use right now. It's called drag. Think of it as the 4 types of tasks you literally drag and drop over to your AI. D is for drafting. Don't stare at a blank page. Tell the AI to write the first draft of that report. R is for research. Don't read 3 massive articles. Tell the AI to summarize them in 5 bullet points. A is for analysis. Feed it that messy spreadsheet and ask it for the top 3 takeaways. And G is for grunt work. Translating a document, cleaning up a mailing list, all that stuff. You're not outsourcing thinking here. You're outsourcing the tedious stuff. So when you intelligently hand off all that grunt work, you suddenly create the space, the time, and the mental focus to chase that state of flow. So let's wrap up by talking about the real payoff here, because cultivating this state is one of the most powerful things you can do, not just for your job, but for your entire life. The thing about flow is, it's not just about being productive. The experience itself is deeply, deeply rewarding. People who experience it regularly talk about this feeling of ecstasy almost, of being outside of normal life with this incredible inner clarity. The motivation isn't a bonus or a promotion. The motivation is the work itself. And the benefits just compound over time. Think about it. To stay in flow, you always have to be stretching your skills just a little bit. That makes it this incredible built-in engine for getting better and better. And that cycle of getting better, of achieving more, that's what leads to a real, lasting sense of satisfaction with your life. It's what makes life feel meaningful. So I'll leave you with a challenge. Take a look at your to-do list for today or for this week. Find one task, just one, that doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be good enough. Now, can you delegate it? Can you automate it? Can you give it to an AI? Freeing up that one little block of time might be the first step you take to making room for something truly great.